Not too long ago, guys, I made a video on what you guys should be aiming to use your Omniprisms on. If you didn't get that video, go ahead and check it out. This one, though, today is going to be the opposite of that. Things you absolutely should avoid using your Omniprism on, especially if you haven't made a decision on what to use your Omniprism on. I'm making this video because I got a lot of questions. What about this character? What about that character? What about this other character? And I wanted to sort of go in and answer those questions here, guys. So that's going to be the video today. Thanks again, once again, to the people who go farther and further beyond to support the content on the stream. I could not do this without your guys' support via Patreon, as well as with YouTube channel memberships, guys. If you want to see more stuff and hang out live, the Twitch stream is the place to be, as well as the Discord. Now, before we get in here, I am going to say this is not a video to tell you how to play the game. You play the game however you want to play. And like I said in the other video, if you have a character that you just like, no matter how good they are, you just want to use them, go for it. But if you want my opinion on what you should be avoiding, then this is the video for you. Now, don't let it stop you from doing something. I'm not going to scold you or anything. You can play the game however it is that you want to play, but these are the things to go out and avoid. This is hopefully to answer some of those questions, like I said before, on maybe you have a couple of ideas between this unit and that unit, the other unit, and maybe you want an opinion on that, of which one's good, which one's bad, and why. So this is going to be the video for that, guys. Now, the first unit we're going to be going over, we're talking about a lot of units in as quickly as succession as possible. And we're going to be going over the guy I got asked the most amount of questions about, which is actually Levinson, who's actually a pretty good support unit, as well as a damage-dealing character. He's got a little bit of support in his kit, but he's a hybrid damage dealer. And a lot of people really like hybrid damage dealers. I want to say avoid Levinson. We know Dark Visions is coming out. Hybrid units are kind of so-so in Dark Visions. They're not the greatest thing ever. You know, they're always doing both magical and physical damage. Dark Visions really wants you to do one or the other, not both. So hybrid units kind of falter in Dark Visions, and it's a new endgame content. All right, that being said, he's also a time-limited character. And it's this thing where, yes, you can use the prisms on time-limited characters, these Omniprisms. It is, quote-unquote, the best use, but they're not only for time limited characters. That bundle is 10,000 lapis for basically, if you use it on a non-time limited character, 8 ULCs. 10,000 lapis for 8 ULCs. That is a fantastic thing. Even if you use it on someone like Paladin Cecil or Sacred Shield Charlotte or these older characters that you can use unit of choice tickets on, if you're using this to put together a team, right, you're a newerish player, you have some ULCs laying around, you bought that bundle. If you can ULC 2 other characters, you get 7 stars with those, and then you have the Omniprism, and you can have a support, a healer, and a breaker, or a breaker support, a tank, and a healer ready to go, or a damage dealer ready to go. You're going to have your team set up, and that's going to be better than going, you know, back and just picking up a time limited unit just because they're time limited. Now, Levinson, very cool character. He's not going to probably get any sort of buffs or anything of that nature until Christmas time again. He's a Christmas holiday unit, so if he gets enhancements, it's not going to be up for a long time. And his super team are the bag of toys. He's not an option, in my opinion, for you to, you know, get your 4th copy with the Omniprism or use an Omniprism and super TMR. This isn't an option, in my opinion. I would avoid Levinson for that reason. Not going to be that good in Dark Visions if they keep it the same way, which they should, where you want to do either attack or magic damage, not both. So I would avoid Levinson at all costs. Very similar, I would also try to tell you to avoid Felix, because Felix is just a worse version of Levinson. Didn't get enhancements. Also, it's Christmas time, so you have to wait a long time, 9 months or so, before this character could maybe even possibly become relevant again in that fashion. So those are 2 characters to kind of avoid. Felix's super team is pretty strong. I know some people were talking about using a super tier removal on it. You could do it for that reason. If you're using Omniprism on Felix, it'd be for that. That being said, though, this is just a little bit better. It is light armor instead of a robe. It's a little bit better than something such as Frivvius TMR, which has 30 attack, 30 magic, and then 10% attack and magic. So keep that in mind. It's just a little bit better version than Frivvius normal TMR, and you're going to have to do with that and what you wish. Now, the other ones I want to talk about are some characters who are good still, but you might want to avoid just because, once again, time-limited characters, they're gonna, you know, they're gonna kind of rotate out. There's people that you can choose other than them, such as Carton and Godria. Now, Carton and Godria are both very strong characters going forth. Carton's very strong, has some nice burst damage, but people are like catching up and surpassing him. Carton, when he came out, is for that big burst damage. Then he kind of does some good damage afterwards with this sort of weird rotation. Pretty strong character, but there's gonna be a lot of other characters that you might be using that Omniprism on just to do damage, right? The next time, you know, Adventure in Cloud comes out, or whatever have you, the next new character, you can use that Omniprism as basically a backup pity to guaranteed 7-star, whatever other character, whatever damage dealer you want. So don't fall into this trap of like, these characters, you know, they're good and I get them right now, right? But if you don't need an upgrade or such, you could avoid these characters and just get a better use out of your Omniprism by getting a different damage dealer. Just because they're a good time-limited damage dealer doesn't mean you need to go and get them and get the quote-unquote best use out of the Omniprism because you're using it on a time-limited character. That's what I want to get in here. Basically, time-limited characters doesn't mean you have to use the Omniprism on them. If you have a time-limited character who's worse than a non-time-limited character that you could use the Omniprism on, pick the non-time-limited, unless, of course, like I said, you have some sort of, you know, attraction or affiliation, and you just like that character, go for it. But if you're just looking for this character's more powerful but non-time-limited, and this character's weaker but time-limited, just get the non-time-limited one, or use the ULCs, or just save the Omniprism for a future character. Also, Baihu, Zukwe, not that great in Dark Visions. No one's really going to match the rotation. Kind of awkwardish character. Avoid this one as well. Now we also have Lilith, or Tiana, excuse me, that kind of goes with Felix here. Time-limited character. Old, didn't get enhancements, not really worth talking about. Avoid that character for sure. Now we also have Lilith, which is a character, pretty good tank. You can get in there, but there's a lot of other magic tanks, right? Paladin Cecil, Sacred Shield Charlotte that stand out. Lilith's also already gotten her EP skills and her ability awakening, so her end of life is kind of already here, unless they give her a second wave of ability enhancements or a second wave of EP skills, which is very unlikely considering they don't really do that. There's only been a couple of characters like 4-star Garnet back in the day that got a second wave of ability awakenings. This character doesn't have any other way to go as far as a 7-star character. So that's going to be something very similar to the other characters we're going to be talking about here with Ong, Chao, and Kryla. Whereas these characters, they're pretty powerful. They're extremely powerful right now still. You can go ahead and you can go and get them, but if you decide that you're going to 7-star your Ong or your Chao or your Kryla, understand that if you have a second option, right, if you have a different breaker, or if you have a different magic tank, or if you have a different chain finishing character, understand that you're using an Omniprism on a character that's going to be strong now, but they don't really have any foreseeable future ability awakenings or EP abilities because they already have them. Let's say like a free random character upgrade or something. They're not going to get any stronger in the future. And there's also, like I'm trying to drive home in this video, if there's an alternative that's stronger, don't feel pressured to use your Omniprism on a time-limited character strictly because they are time-limited, all right? Ong is very, very good. If you like Ong, go and get him. If there's a different chain finisher that you can gain access to as a 7-star right now that's better than Ong, unless you have some sort of affiliation or infatuation with the boy Ong, go and get somebody else. All right, for sure. The same thing with Chao and Kryla. Very powerful characters, right? Very strong. But should you go and get Kryla, or should you go and get, Ffbe, or should you go and get Riku, or should you save that for some other future breaker that maybe is a global exclusive or something? Exclusive. That's how we pronounce that today. I would save it or use it on a different character. Don't get it don't use it on a time limited strictly because it's time limited. Repeat that down in chat if you have it ready. Put it in the comments if you understand it by now. Now, the other ones that we're going to be talking about are a little bit different. They are time limited characters, but the difference between these ones, and we're talking about strictly characters in this sense, is that these characters, they should be coming back pretty soon. All right, so we have the DQ11 characters. That's pretty much anyone not named 11, because 11 super team are so strong and so powerful and so good for true dual wield limit burst damage characters like Advent Children Cloud, like CG Noct. I almost called him Crowdo. Advent Children Cloud, CG Noctis, and the like, that those characters are very, very strong. Now, these DQ11 characters, they did say they were going to buff them back up to size of where they were in JP when they came out, right? Sabrina got hit really hard with nerfs in Global. Veronica, Sylvando, Jade, Rob, these characters aren't as strong as they were in JP when they came out in Global. They're going to have to get these buffs back up to become what they were meant to be when they came out. Now, the only way that ever happens with collaborations is when that collaboration comes back. So not only are these characters not really worth your time and effort right now compared to a lot of the other ones, they're not worth the Omniprism, not only because they don't really stand up right now in where the meta is going. In order for them to get put back up, like we saw with Kingdom Hearts, which really kind of broke how I felt about collaborations, made a whole video about it, about how they treat collaborations nowadays for the most part. And hopefully they'll change that soon when they bring them out and nerf them specifically, which they've done for a lot of them. I don't think they're nerfing anything for Full Metal Alchemist, so that's going to be helpful there. They're actually buffing some of the characters, which is a pretty super cool idea. When they bring out these collaborations and bring global worse versions, we have no idea when they're going to get put back up to speed, which, as we saw with Kingdom Hearts and some other ones, is it's too long. It's too long. Unless we know that they're coming out in 2 months again with the collaboration again, it's too long. So like Rob, Jade, Sylvando, Veronica, Serena, there's not only are they not like the craziest thing right now, can you use them for sure? If you're a DQ11 fan, go for it, like we've been saying. But not only are they not great right now, you don't know when they're going to get good again. You don't know when they're going to do it. So you're not like using Omniprism, using them now. You know, they're really strong right now. They're going to get stronger in the future. They're like kind of okay right now. And then maybe in the future at some point they'll be strong again, but you don't know where they're going to be power-wise comparison to what you could have used that Omniprism on in the future. And then on top of that, if you're Omniprisming them just for the 7-star, you're not trying to get any of the super TMRs, which none of their super TMRs honestly are like super insane. Divine Intervention here from Serena is just worst Primrose super TMR. Veronica's Crown, pretty good, just high magic pretty much is all it is. It's got the decreased MP cost, but you can get around it with other things. That's not worth a super TMR Moogle. Sylvando's Shamshare of Light, no thank you. Jade's Split Pot Poker, I don't even know who uses two-handed spears in this game right now. And then Rob has a Rab, not Rob. Maybe he's been, you know, demoted down to Rob, but he's got basically a staff that wants to be a one-handed sword, right? There's a lot of, this is like Beowulf Super TMR with more magic than attack. It's like reverse Beowulf Super TMR. Not good. Not good. And then on top of that, if you do want them 7-star when they get buffed back up, that means their collabs come back again. So maybe you get a shot at them then. So you don't need to invest your Omniprism into these types of characters right now. Now, to touch on some other ones, really quickly, we touched on some other characters. We don't know if Kingdom Hearts Sephiroth and Riku, if those are ever going to get buffed up. Who knows? Who knows at all whatsoever? But basically, any sort of collaboration character that wasn't in the video on, you know, something that you could use them for Super TMR, etc., on the what you should use your Omniprism bundle, Omniprism on, I would avoid. Just for that same reason. We don't know when they're coming back. We don't know if they're getting buffed up. We don't know anything about those characters, right? A2 and 2B. Unless you're going for the Super TMR, you're going to use that, getting them, unless you just like the character. I want to hammer that home. So I don't want to see a single comment of like, you don't pay my sub, don't tell me how to play. This is just my opinion on what you guys should be avoiding. That's what I would do. I would avoid any collaboration character that didn't make the cut in the other video for their Super TMR. I would avoid any time limited character that isn't going to be leaps and bounds better above what you have. If you don't have a breaker and you have one Kryla, go for it, right? If you don't have a tank at all, period, and Chow or whatever is your only option, that might be something for you to consider. But if you have something that's a non-time limited character that can do the role better, use it on the non-time limited character, especially if you're trying to fill out your roster, right? If your first magic tank is between Chow and Paladin Cecil, don't get Chow just because he's time limited. Get Paladin Cecil because that boy is freaking insane, right? That's what I wanted to make this video about because I got a lot of questions on that. Hopefully this video answered a lot of that stuff. If you guys want to see more stuff like this, as well as a lot of the War of the Visions content in live, go ahead and check out the live stream, twitch.tv/howls, as well as hit that notification button, subscribe for more on the channel, leave a like, leave a comment on this video, and definitely put down there whether or not I actually got that point across of it's not about me trying to tell you how to play the game. It's about just general information. That's what people come here for. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you. We're probably streaming right now, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.